Well now, good evening, friends. Andy Taylor here. What if I told you that a traveling jewelry salesman reported a theft of valuable diamonds worth thousands of dollars in Mayberry? The whole town fell under suspicion, and when I finally solved the case, I discovered the real crime wasn't theft at all, but fraud born of desperation. And solving it meant choosing between justice and mercy? This is a story about how things aren't always what they seem, about the difference between breaking the law and breaking trust, and about whether second chances should be earned or given. It started on a Tuesday morning in late spring of 1959 when a well-dressed man in his mid-40s walked into my office looking deeply distressed. "Sheriff Taylor," he said, his voice shaking, "I need to report a theft. My name is Charles Sterling. I'm a traveling jewelry salesman, staying at the Mayberry Hotel. Last night someone broke into my room and stole a case of diamond rings worth nearly $5,000. $5,000 was serious money, more than most people in Mayberry made in 2 years. I got my notebook and started taking details. Sterling explained he'd arrived yesterday afternoon, checked into the hotel around 4, had dinner at the diner around 6, returned to his room around 8, locked the door, and went to sleep. When he woke this morning, his jewelry case was gone. I went with Sterling to the hotel to examine the scene. His room was on the second floor, room 12. The door showed no signs of forced entry. The lock was intact, no scratches or damage. The window was closed and latched from inside. "Mr. Sterling," I said, "you're certain the door was locked when you went to bed?" He nodded emphatically. "Absolutely certain, Sheriff. I'm very careful with my inventory. I always double-check the locks. Everything seemed orderly. No signs of struggle or hasty search. Just the missing jewelry case. Can you describe the case?" Sterling pulled out a photograph showing a black leather case about the size of a small briefcase, with brass corners and a combination lock. I interviewed Mr. Jenkins, the hotel owner, a nervous man clearly worried about his reputation. "Sheriff," he said, "I run a respectable establishment. We've never had a theft in 20 years. Jenkins had a master key, as did his wife and the housekeeper, Mrs. Patterson. 8 other guests were staying at the hotel that night. Over the next hours, I spoke with each. A hardware salesman, 2 elderly ladies, a young honeymoon couple, and 3 businessmen. None had seen or heard anything unusual. Mrs. Patterson, the housekeeper, had worked there 15 years. "Sheriff Taylor," she said, "I would never take anything that wasn't mine. I've cleaned hundreds of rooms and never touched a guest's belongings." I believed her. She'd finished work by 6 the previous evening and gone home. Barney had his theories. "Andy," he said, "I think we're dealing with a professional. Someone who knows how to pick locks without leaving marks. Maybe someone who followed Sterling to Mayberry specifically to steal those diamonds." I appreciated Barney's enthusiasm, but something was bothering me. The lack of forced entry suggested someone with a key, but the staff seemed beyond suspicion. The other guests had no apparent motive. I decided to learn more about Sterling himself. I called a colleague in state police and asked him to check for similar thefts involving traveling salesmen. While waiting, I interviewed Sterling more thoroughly. "Mr. Sterling, I need to ask more questions. How long have you been a traveling salesman?" He seemed uncomfortable. "I've been in the jewelry business about 12 years. I travel through small towns in North Carolina and Virginia, selling to local stores and customers. I asked to see his business license and credentials, which he produced. Everything seemed legitimate. Then I asked a question that made him tense. "Mr. Sterling, are these diamonds insured?" He nodded slowly. "Yes, of course. I have insurance for my full inventory. The policy is with a reliable insurance company out of Charlotte. Can you tell me the exact value you declared for the stolen diamonds?" He hesitated. $4,800. That's what I reported to the insurance company. That evening, my colleague called back. "Andy," he said, "there's no pattern of thefts following traveling salesmen, but I did find something interesting. Charles Sterling filed an insurance claim 6 months ago for stolen merchandise in Virginia. Gold watches worth about $3,000. The claim was paid out." I hung up, feeling pieces coming together uncomfortably. The next morning, I called Reliable Insurance Company and spoke with adjuster Mr. Harrison. "Sheriff Taylor," he said, "Sterling's policy is current, but I'll tell you something in confidence. 2 claims in 6 months is unusual. We were planning to review his policy." I spent that day thinking through the evidence, or rather, the lack of it. No forced entry, no witnesses, no physical evidence except Sterling's word. I thought about the timing, that he'd reported the theft first thing in the morning rather than immediately. I thought about his nervousness regarding insurance. Aunt Bee had mentioned seeing Sterling at the diner the previous evening, and he'd seemed distracted and worried, kept checking his watch even before the supposed theft. I needed to confront Sterling, but carefully. I found Sterling packing his belongings. "Mr. Sterling, I need you to come to the courthouse. We need to talk." He looked frightened. "Am I under arrest?" "Not yet, but we need a serious conversation." At the courthouse, I sat across from Sterling with Barney present. "Mr. Sterling, I've been investigating thoroughly, and I've found concerning things. I know about your previous insurance claim in Virginia. I know you seemed anxious before the theft supposedly occurred, and I've examined your room extensively. There's no evidence of forced entry or any theft at all." Sterling's face went pale. "Now, I'm going to ask you directly. Were there ever any diamonds in that case?" The silence was heavy. Sterling's hands shook. Finally, his shoulders sagged and tears rolled down his face. "No," he whispered. "There were never any diamonds. The case was empty. I've been carrying it around, pretending to have inventory, but I sold everything weeks ago. I was planning to file a false insurance claim to get money I desperately need." I let him cry, then asked gently, "Why? You have a legitimate business, a good reputation. What would make you risk everything for insurance fraud?" Sterling took a deep breath. His daughter, his only child, had been diagnosed with polio 2 years ago. The medical bills had been staggering. He'd exhausted his savings, taken loans, sold most of his real inventory to pay for her treatments. She was getting better, but needed continued therapy costing hundreds monthly. The previous Virginia claim had been legitimate, he insisted. Those watches really were stolen. But the payout went to medical bills and creditors. He'd found himself with almost no inventory, drowning in debt, with a sick daughter depending on him. In desperation, he'd concocted this plan. Come to a small town, report a fake theft, collect insurance money, disappear. It was supposed to be simple, victimless. The insurance company was big and wealthy. Barney spoke up. "Andy, this is fraud. We have to arrest him." Let the court sort it out. I held up my hand. Give me a moment. I looked at Sterling. What you attempted is serious. Insurance fraud carries significant penalties. You could go to prison, which would mean your daughter would have no one. Do you understand? He nodded miserably. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to call that insurance company right now and withdraw your claim. Tell them it was a misunderstanding, that you found the case. Then answer this honestly. Are you willing to work to earn money the right way, even if it's hard? Sterling looked up, hope flickering. Yes, absolutely. I'll do anything honest to provide for my daughter. Then here's what I propose. You're going to stay in Mayberry. I'm going to find you work. You're going to earn money honestly, pay down your debts slowly, and care for your daughter properly. But if you ever try something like this again, I will personally make sure you face full prosecution. Do we have an understanding? Sterling stood quickly. Yes, Sheriff. Thank you. I won't let you down. Arnie pulled me aside. Andy, are you sure? We're letting a criminal go free. I shook my head. We're giving a desperate father a second chance to choose a better path. There's a difference. Over the next days, I talked to people around town. Floyd Lawson needed help around his barbershop, doing cleaning and maintenance, maybe eventually learning barbering. Floyd was hesitant when I explained Sterling's situation, but agreed to give him a chance. Sterling moved into a small rented room above the hardware store and started working for Floyd 6 days a week. It wasn't glamorous and didn't pay much, but it was honest. The first weeks were awkward. People had heard about the theft report and its mysterious resolution. There were whispers. Sterling kept his head down and worked hard. About a month later, Floyd pulled me aside. Andy, Sterling is working out better than expected. He's reliable, hard-working, and quite good with people once they get to know him. He told me about his daughter, shows me pictures. You can see how much he loves that little girl. I'm glad I gave him the chance. Sterling approached me. Sheriff Tyler, I wanted to thank you again. I've sent my first payment to my creditors. It's small, but it's a start. I talked to my daughter last night. I told her I have steady work in a nice town. She sounded so relieved. I put my hand on his shoulder. Keep making good choices, Mr. Sterling. That's all any of us can do. Over the following months, Sterling became a familiar and welcome part of Mayberry. He learned barbering from Floyd and had natural talent. Customers found him pleasant. He never hid his past. When people asked, he was honest about his daughter's illness and his struggles, which earned respect. About 6 months later, Sterling's daughter was well enough to visit. She was a sweet girl of about 9, still wearing leg braces, but smiling and full of life. The town embraced her, and seeing their love confirmed that giving Sterling a second chance had been right. The insurance company never knew how close they'd come to being defrauded. Sterling had called as instructed, claimed he'd found the case under his bed, apologized profusely. They'd been annoyed but suspected nothing more. Barney occasionally questioned my decision. Andy, what if Sterling had run? What if he'd taken advantage of your trust? I'd give the same answer. Then I would have been wrong to trust him, and he would have proven himself unworthy. But that's not what happened. He chose to stay. He chose to do the work. That choice matters. The whole experience taught me something about law enforcement and justice. My job is to enforce the law, yes, but also to serve the community and recognize that people are complicated. Sterling broke the law, or tried to. But does he deserve to have his life destroyed, his daughter left without a father, for a crime born of desperation that he didn't even complete? There's a legal answer and a moral answer, and sometimes they're not the same. The legal answer is clear. Attempted fraud is a crime. It should be prosecuted. But the moral answer is more complicated. A man driven to desperation by love for his sick child, who confessed when confronted, who was willing to work hard to make things right, who posed no danger to anyone. Did the strict letter of the law serve justice better than giving him a chance at redemption? I couldn't shake the feeling that mercy, in this case, was the wiser choice. But I was clear this couldn't become a pattern. Sterling's case was unique. What made it different was his immediate confession, his genuine remorse, his willingness to make amends, and the fact that no one had been harmed got years later. I'd reflect on the case of the stolen diamonds that weren't. It remained one of the most ethically complex situations I dealt with as sheriff. On paper, I should have arrested Sterling and let the legal system handle it. That was the safe choice, the by-the-book choice. But I'd been sheriff long enough to know that the law is a tool for achieving justice, not a replacement for it. And sometimes, justice looks like a second chance. Sterling stayed in Mayberry for 3 more years. He eventually saved enough to pay off most debts and cover his daughter's medical needs. When she was 12 and fully recovered, he moved to a larger town to establish his own barbershop. Before leaving, he came to see me. "Sheriff Taylor," he said, "you changed my life. When I came here, I was desperate and broken and willing to do something I'm deeply ashamed of now. You could have ended everything for me. Instead, you gave me a chance to become the man I should have been all along." I shook his hand. "Just keep making good choices. And maybe someday, if someone else is in trouble and needs a chance, you'll remember and help them the way we helped you. That's how kindness multiplies." He nodded, tears in his eyes. "I will, Sheriff. I promise." After Sterling left, I sometimes wondered what happened to them. Did he succeed? Did his daughter grow up healthy? Did he make better choices when faced with another desperate moment? I liked to think so. I like to think the second chance we gave him changed his trajectory permanently. That's the thing about second chances. You never really know if you made the right call until years later. Well now, that's the story of the stolen diamonds that weren't, of a desperate father who almost made a terrible mistake, and of how sometimes mercy can be a form of justice. It's about the difference between the letter of the law and the spirit of it, about recognizing when strict enforcement would do more harm than good, and about believing people can change when given opportunity and support. One bad choice doesn't have to define your life. If you're caught, if you confess, if you're genuinely willing to make amends and work hard, there might be people willing to give you that second chance. But you have to earn it through actions every single day. Come back and visit again real soon, friends. Until then, this is Andy Taylor saying good night from Mayberry. Remember, the measure of a community isn't just in how it punishes wrongdoing, but in how it responds to genuine remorse and the sincere desire to change. Sometimes the greatest justice is found not in the courthouse, but in the second chances we offer to those who've lost their way. Take care now.